This is a Copperworks pick called Tropical Peaches. Copperworks might be someone you're not familiar with. They mostly do American Single Malt, but they're here in Seattle, Washington. I've been there before. I've even done a pick there, and whenever that bottle becomes available, I'll put out a video with the whole pick experience, because it was my first time ever being a part of a barrel pick, and it was a ton of fun. This is not that bottle. This is a very different bottle. This is done by my friends at Baker Drinks and Northwest Bourbon. Shout out to Mark, Troy, and Laura. They even have this really awesome little tater sticker that goes with it. Yeah. Both their logos. But this is actually a pick that is still available, although it's starting to run out, and I will put a link in the description down below. It's at poordecisions.club. For those who have been around the Whiskey Tube family, you might be familiar with some of the smaller creators that make up Pour Decisions. I don't know everybody, so don't be offended if I leave you out. But folks like Myron from the Bourbon Drop, Matt of Whiskey Wisdom, Bakers, of course, just a lot of great smaller whiskey creators that get together and do a number of different picks as a collective group, make them available to other crazies like myself. And I thought, since I finally got some of these to close out the new year, we'd give it a try, a little review on 2 Minute Tuesday. Now, Copperworks has kind of a cool story. They originally started as craft beer makers and slowly shifted toward other distilled spirits. They don't only do American Single Malt, they do some things like gin, and some of their gins are actually quite popular here in the Northwest. But what I like about them is one of two things. One, they have this really cool profile that tends to be very apricot forward, kind of like Dragon's Milk for those of you who might be out near Dragon's Milk. If you look on their back labels, they always break down on any of the single barrels, and they release all sorts of single barrels, but their distribution is not super wide yet. What's in it? So in the case of Tropical Peaches, this is using their Queen's recipe, also known as Baroness. It's the 5 years, 2 months. There was 206 bottles in this barrel, and this is using New American Oak Char number 2 from the Canton Cooperage. And my personal favorite that they do is their Genie Malt, and that's the one that brings forth the most apricot-y kind of flavors in a very dessert way. But Tropical Peaches is named for a reason, and honestly, most people that aren't fans of single malt might like this because it is very fruit forward and a little different than most of your normal malted single malt whiskeys. So with that being said, let's get into this bad boy and try it out. We start with color, and for only 5 years, it's got a pretty nice color to it. Quite a few little legs starting to form. Really good oiliness cleaning the glass, and it's 133.4 proof, so you kind of expect this bad boy to have a bit of viscosity. Let's get into the nose. The name Tropical Peaches is very amped. There is a little bit of kind of the malt funkiness that is there, but there's a lot of peach, a little bit of apricot, kind of a little bit of a like tart crust kind of thing, and just a hint passion fruits. Have you ever had like a passion fruit kind of creme tart or something like that? A lot of that going on here in the nose. Let's see how it transfers to the palate. Cheers. First impression, for 133.4 proof, this does not drink that hot. I usually expect things at that kind of proof level to really give me a big punch in the face, maybe take 1 or 2 sips before I start getting into the full flavor in the palate. Not here. It drinks pretty chill, and its nose wasn't very like heavy on the ethanol either. Have you ever had the jarred peaches? Like the kind of the syrupy kind of juice that's there in with the peaches? It's a lot of that very concentrated kind of syrupy peach sweetness. Definitely has some of that apricot candy thing going on in there too. As you get toward the mid and finish portions of the palate, that's where the citrusy kind of thing, that kind of passion fruit I was talking about, comes in, along with a little bit of like kind of a buttery, crusty kind of tart shell thing. Everything I got in the nose is coming forward on the palate, which is kind of awesome because I really like the nose. Now, as you get into the finish, that is where some of the single malt, that kind of malty funk thing comes in. So if you are extremely sensitive to that, and I can be, might be a little bit of risk there. But for me, and I'm pretty sensitive to heavily malted things, it's not blowing out my palate. It's kind of adding a little extra layer of like, where there's that little kind of funky note in there with all the soft sweetness. It's giving that. It's adding a little complexity, so it's not just like sweet, 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 right? It's got sweet, 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 gets a little savory, and then kind of brings in the funkiness, gives a little curveball, adds a little something extra and more complex to what we're tasting. Let's get into an overall score for the Copperworks Tropical Peaches single barrel pick. I'm going to give this a 74. Northwest Bourbon, Bakers, you did a great job. I will say, for people that are really sensitive to the malt notes, you might not like this as much as I do, but there's a lot of sweet notes, and for some people it might be too sweet. I like fairly sweet, fruity whiskey, so that doesn't bother me at all. But I know a lot of my personal friends in my drinking group, some of them don't like hyper sweet whiskey. And while this isn't as bad as like some of the maple syrup finishes that are out there, like think Widow Jane Decadence, it does have a kind of sweet note before it gets into the malt and brings a little bit more than just fruity sweetness to the palate. So for those of you who like significantly hyper age where it's a lot of oak and leather and tobacco and you don't really care so much for like the sugary and or fruity notes, this is probably not the whiskey for you. But for people who prefer their whiskey to have a lot of fruit forward notes, and maybe you don't mind a little bit of funkiness, maybe it's like a funky wheat or something like a single malt, this is fruit all day. Very, very fruity. Tropical Peaches is an absolutely perfect bang-on name for it. And it's very desserty. So if you want something that's a little sweet, it's going to be a little different than your usual bourbon, you might consider picking one of these up. Like I mentioned, you can get them at poordecisions.club. I'll leave a link in the description down below. I get nothing out of this. I'm just supporting some of my friends, and I bought it and liked it, and I wanted to talk about it. So there you go. For those of you watching, let me know in the comments down below. Have you ever tried Copperworks or any of the other American single malts that are available on the market? What's been your favorite? Do you have none of them that you've liked whatsoever? What's the thing that has made you maybe stay away from wanting to try American single malt? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and we're getting pretty close, I'm going to give away a bottle of E.H. Taylor Single Barrel and an E.H. Taylor Small Batch, probably a few other things too. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.